Hello and welcome back to Download. Devlog here, and I'm talking to Dave Hunt of Anaal Nathrakh. Oh my gosh.
Hello.
So, yeah, last time I saw you guys, you played at Joseph's Well in Leeds just before it shut down. Yeah, on the Vanitas tour. Now, I have to compliment you on that particular album for getting me through a pretty grisly time of my life. It was great because it was like a catharsis record for me, you know. And
okay.
It was, I felt like it was like one of your more anthemic releases, Vanitas.
Right.
You know. So there was an absolutely wonderful record. So I made a point of going to the gig at Joseph's Well. And I remember you sat in the merch store reading some deep psychology or something like, it looked like some very sort of like heavy book.
Sounds like something I'd do.
Yeah.
Being a pretentious dickhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what book it would have been. Probably Nietzsche at the time. But
I was going to say Nietzsche or one of the ones that Shane likes.
Whoever the fuck they are.
Yeah, one of those. But yeah, so obviously Mick has gone to do his dubstep and do very well at it, actually.
I don't know if it'd be called dubstep, but then I don't know what else it'd be called because I haven't actually
spooky...
got I think they call it funk.
Right.
Phonk. I don't know.
Funk.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, he's been making a good old go at that, and you've got the Anaal, Alive Anaal lineup. Is there any plans to record some more?
Presently not, because Mick's aforementioned whatever it is that he's doing, he's keeping him rather busy at the moment. He was going to come over for this, but then he's got some other thing that he's got to do in a couple of weeks' time, and he's always in that position. Have you ever heard of Zack Snyder?
Yes.
Film director.
Oh, yes.
300, stuff like that.
Yeah, he
So
did
he had to do
Superman and all that.
Yeah, he did some stuff for his last film, and you know, it's
As you do.
well, as Mick
As
nowadays,
Mick does, yeah.
Apparently does, yeah. But we did chat about, you know, whether or not we'll just say, okay, that's that. And the conclusion we reached was, well, why say that? So long as we're on the same page, that it might be a while,
Yeah.
with capital letters, before he's in a position to be able to do anything again.
Yeah, sure.
So we've got nothing lined up right now. But the at least in principle idea is that we might have in the future.
When the stars align.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I might not be operating in the circles Mick's in at the moment, but I'm pretty busy a lot of the time as well.
Fair play. Fair play.
So yeah, but hopefully the intention is so. We will see if it actually happens, but that is the idea. And in the meantime, I mean, I wanted to do our gig.
Yeah.
Possibly the last ever one, but just, you know, if that were to be how it was, then at least a full stop at the end of what we'd done before. So we did that, and for that, I enlisted the help of some of the guys from the Akakoki Voices stable.
Very talented men.
Absolutely. And it was a signal pleasure to be able to play with people like that. But that went really well, and people didn't seem to mind.
Awesome.
That Mick wasn't there, because I mean, Mick not being there always grated on me to begin with. We always played with other guys, but obviously Mick's the issue. But people got it.
Yeah.
They're like, you know, he can't, but we want to pull each other's heads off with a ridiculous racket in the background.
Yeah, right.
So we're like, okay, well, if people still want to see us, if we're still getting offers for gigs, we're still doing stuff, why not?
Yeah, because you and Mick have got history before now. Weren't you both in Mistress? Right? It was.
Yeah,
but Mick was on drums in that band, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah. I remember seeing you in York Fibbers. It was terrifying.
Okay.
It's going back some.
Yeah, a few years ago.
I
think our last ever gig was in 2008 or something. So
and there was also Fuck Pig as well, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Yep. There you go. Done my homework. I didn't do my homework. I just went to see all these bands. But
I mean, a Google wouldn't take long.
No, true that. I mean, because the way it stands with the now, like the last few records, like you really sort of like put out some amazing stuff. Like that. I mean, to take on like everyone knows about battle metal or war metal, but you did First World War metal, which is a subject that is far bleaker than any other war sort of thing. You know, no, I don't think anyone has actually got to the angst and anxiety of being in a trench quite like that album.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, one of the things that popped into my head about it, because me and Mick had spoken about lots of things in various degrees of detail over the years, but there was one constant, which was pretty much that if we were to try to imagine what actually being in hell would be like, it probably wouldn't have priapic things with horns on their heads and pitchforks. It would be being in a trench in World War One.
Absolutely, a personal hell.
Yeah. And having, I remember seeing a couple of interviews with a couple of different people who survived it all, saying, you know, how did you survive? It was awful. And they said every time they told us to go over the top, we just shot the commanding officer. You know,
Full way.
Yeah.
Not too far away from Blackadder there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Although obviously the end of Blackadder that goes forth is quite the contrary. But so it was seemed appropriate to use that as a theme. Especially given some of the poetry and stuff that was in it. And one of the things that we struggled with most was finding the artwork for the album.
Sure.
Because we're like, right, okay, well, clearly we've got a theme. It's not a concept album, but it's, you know, there is a bit of a theme on it. Let's look at the artwork from the time and so on. And there's this amazing evolution of the artwork because there were artists that went to the front to document what was going on. This great and glorious victory of the right way of life over whatever it was they thought they were fighting, and the descent into increasingly abstract forms of art, because they started out and they're like, I'm going to depict that in just the way that I came in the door thinking that I was going to do it. And then they're exposed to what's actually happening, and they're
pure
like,
horror.
This isn't sufficient to articulate what this is, and it got more and more abstract and more brutal and that kind of thing. So as topics go,
but you did so brilliantly. I mean, the video that went along, Obscene Cancer, that video is haunting, and the actor in it is just outstanding. Where he's got him like literally screaming along to your screams as it would appear, and it is that like cry for help sort of thing. And I found that particularly harrowing. I thought that was you definitely done the job there.
I had a little bit of not an argument, but I had a slight disagreement with the people who were doing that. So there's people who Mick knows over in America who, you know, they do other things most of the time, and they can borrow half decent cameras and that from what they normally do. But I wrote it kind of thing. And there's a bit in it where the main character, that very good actor, he reads a note and they wanted him to kill himself. I'm like, no,
that's not the point.
That's not right. I didn't necessarily want it to be triumph over adversity. I wanted it to be that there is no easy way out, kind of thing. I think it's quite powerful. I mean, I don't know how many people who watch something like this will have seen it, but it's on YouTube. We do very well. We do quite well with the black metal lot, you know, and the more extreme fellas and ladies. There are them.
There are them. I was at Fortress the other week. I did see it. With my own peepers.
Is that the festival that's up
Scarborough?
Right, okay. I saw the lineup I don't know if it was this year, but I saw the lineup for that one of the years, and I was like, that looks quite good.
Yeah, it's very good. I got this t-shirt there, 1349 plate. Who are one of my favourites.
I refer to that as Plague O'Clock, and no one knows what I'm talking, because you know the year they picked is the year that the Black Death arrived in Norway.
I knew it was something to do with Black Death.
And that's what 1349 is. So I take, it's 1349 o'clock, and I just get blank looks.
So is there anything about, like, I mean, do you miss all this when you're away from it?
But, I mean, we're not away from it all that much. You know, we're relatively active. Doing bits and pieces. Usually, if we haven't got anything for 2-3 months, there's probably something after that. Kind of thing. So we've stayed relatively active. In terms of were you to take doing this away, no, that's not happening. That's just not a possibility. because then I would probably end up making a mess.
Yeah.
Need the outlet and the.
I was talking to other musicians about this. It's like if you're a lifer, it's your compulsion. You will create. You will because that's what you do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and it's not like being in the position that we're in now or anything. It's not like we've gone right. I want to be in the position of doing that kind of thing. It's much more from the inside out. It's like I have to do something, and that something results in you being in a place like this. But being in a place like this isn't the point, the focus. It's the doing the something.
Yeah.
And I mean, before you press record on that, we were talking about sometimes music can help you through interesting times and that kind of thing, and that's something that of a theme in occasional messages we've received over the years and that kind of thing. And I think it's very similar from my side of it, and I presume the other guys. So without that, there would probably have been an insurmountable problem over the years, but having that there means I'm sitting here today, kind of thing. You know?
Yeah, and you can hear like it's the thing that's different about your vocal to any other extreme metal vocals. To my mind, is it's very honest.
They know what they're doing.
No, it's very honest. It sounds like pure catharsis. It sounds like what it's meant to be. You've also got like this amazing operatic voice that comes out. You know, instead of doing like the cutesy melody thing, you do the full-on like scary.
Oh, if you're gonna do it, do it.
Yeah, it's full-blooded. But yeah, and add to that, you know, the way Mick affects the vocals sometimes, you know, where it's like bouncing off the left and right and going all over the place, and it's so refreshing. I take that over just someone doing the same Cookie Monster growling any day, you know. So it's really unique, and it's a sound that I can't see it being replicated anytime soon.
I think it is. Yeah, it ain't self-dick sucking time, but
no.
I don't think there are many bands that have A, tried to do quite what we do, and B, if they have tried, pulled it off.
No,
you know?
I haven't heard it. But do you think it's something about like Birmingham? Because it's like Napalm. No one else could be Napalm. No one else could be Anaal Nathrakh. You know.
Yeah.
Many people try to be Sabbath.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're going to locate it in Birmingham, I think Sabbath and
Priest.
Draw the area a bit wider, Priest and that, yeah. So, yeah, I don't think there's an unreplicable localised trait particularly, but I do think there's a degree of ploughing your own furrow that has come naturally, whether it's a feature of the area or whether it happens to be common amongst, for whatever random reasons, common amongst bands from around there. But that's
just do your
own
distinctiveness
kind of thing.
Yeah, like Godflesh, like for instance.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
But it's just something in the water. Especially when I go to like Supersonic Festival in Birmingham, you know, and it's just such a fertile ground for like experimentalism as well. It seems to be. I think it might be something to do with the landscape around Digbeth or something.
I mean, Digbeth's a bit of a special case. It's had a lot of money pushed into like gentrifying it and stuff, but it remains relatively organic. Certainly, Supersonic.
Yeah.
I think that's less about Digbeth and more about Lisa and the crew she works with.
Yeah, Capsule.
And that they do work hard. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know them that well, and we'd say hello, but they. I think they do exert effort to say, is this new? Is this doing something different? And it doesn't have to be new full stop, but it has to be interesting and distinctive. And that I mean, there was a guy years ago, I was recreationally, I think, as opposed to for a gig or something. I was in Prague, and I was walking around, and there was this guy busking on a hurdy-gurdy.
No.
And I just stopped in the street, and I don't know if you've been to the centre of Prague. It's basically tourists everywhere, but I just stopped and I thought it was amazing. And when I got back, I was like, Supersonics, you know about this guy. He's about fucking 70 or something, but there he is doing these things that you've never heard anything like before because they're from old school Bohemia or wherever it is he's on about. and nothing came from it initially, but a few years later he did end up playing at
Wow,
Supersonic and that.
that's
and
a cool story.
And they are like magpieing, and they are
Yeah.
like, what is it that's happening? I don't think that's specific to Digbeth. I think it's because there are people, again, whether it's a local thing that's in the water or whether it happens to be just a selection of people who came together organically by other means, but there are people who are looking for what is different, what is new, what is saying something that other people aren't saying. And if you get a Supersonic, there's a lot of people saying that you won't, saying things you won't hear anywhere else.
Well, absolutely. It completely changed. I mean, I've always liked experimental music, but after going to Supersonic, I started I renewed my subscription to The Wire, you know what I mean?
Right.
It had that effect on me.
I don't know about you, but there's a current that runs through metal festivals, documentaries about them and stuff like that. But for me, it would be more applicable with stuff at the more avant-garde end. But where you suddenly run into a situation, a group of people, whatever it is, and you're like, there are other people like this.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a revelation.
Absolutely.
Kind of thing. When I first found out that you could go somewhere and there were other people who'd heard of Mayhem,
Yeah.
that was a particular place and time.
Yeah.
It's much more widespread now. But that initial feeling of,
Yeah.
going, oh my God, I'm not the only one
Who's got this cassette tape from Norway?
Exactly.
Oh, amazing. Right, the final question I have is, I'm asking everybody I'm interviewing this year, from just all different sorts of bands. If the National the Education Board came to you and asked you for a recommendation for a song that every kid has to listen to before they leave school, what would your recommendation be? So just as you're hitting 18, what's the track you think would set a young kid up for life, or an album, any genre, any style?
That's really tricky. I don't know about you. When I was around 18, I was about 6 different people, depending on where the wind was blowing.
Yeah.
And the easy thing to say would be one of two things: either an Anthem of Rebellion, which I think is an Arch Enemy album title or something, but
could be.
But that's the teenage thing, or something that's educative and that you probably wouldn't have come across by that point. I think I would go for something that does, given what we were saying a moment ago, and I was like, there are people out there, that kind of thing. I do think Alienation is a strong current in your late teens.
Yeah.
And I think I would choose something that is completely alienating, but at the same time reduces the alienation of the listener in somehow of a way that says, whatever it is you think you've got, these guys either did the same, did much worse, that kind of thing. And I think I might go for either Wriggle Like an Eel by Whitehouse.
Nice.
Or anything off Frequency LSD by Masonna.
Nice. Right, good luck finding that for the Spotify playlist.
Give it a go. You won't. Give it a go.
Well, it's been an absolute honour, Dave. Absolute bucket list item. Thank you very much, mate.
Nice one.
Take care.